Alright guys, so I'm going to be doing a review from another comic sent to me by my good friend Chris, aka the Mount Vernon Kid. Chris, thank you once again. And yeah, so today we're going to be talking about Frank Miller's Ronin. So Ronin was a book by Frank Miller that I had never read. It had been out for a long time, and when people talk about, it's funny because when people talk about like Frank Miller's famous or infamous comics, Ronin isn't brought up a lot, which I find odd because it's like it is brought up, but like it isn't. And what I mean by that is people say like, "Oh, Frank Miller's Ronin, Frank Miller's Ronin," but then you read like you read about people talking about like Frank Miller's other work, like obviously Dark Knight Returns or his Daredevil run, and people throw out Ronin, but no one really brings out why. Why should anyone read Ronin when it's, no one knows what it I've asked like, what's Frank Miller's Ronin? People are like, what? You talking about a story in Sin City or what? And that's the thing, is that it got overshadowed. It's been overshadowed for the longest time by Miller's other work. When honestly, this was like his first big solo his first big major project they put him on. If I'm right, I think this is before. I could be wrong, but I think this is little before he did Dark Knight Returns. Could be wrong, but yeah. So what is Ronin? What is Ronin? Ronin is about this story that is about this young samurai who loses his master to a demon named Agate, and is now thrown into the future by Agate, and has to use a special sword to kill him, but is now trapped in the world after merging with the body of a limbless telepath in the far future, and fused with his body, and now goes on a quest to defeat Agate, while at the same time this other he's in the far future and a supercomputer is kind of pulling the strings on everything. Everybody got that? If you're confused by this, don't worry. I was confused halfway through this entire book, because Miller, this showcases the best and worst qualities about Frank Miller. That's the thing about this comic, is that it showcases, simultaneously his best and worst qualities. The comic itself, the dialogue doesn't feel like Frank Miller-esque, but you can clearly see, the start of, him repeating word, Frank Miller's whole thing of, say one word, then repeat it as a sentence. He does that. Also, a lot of racial slurs in here, to an aggressive amount. And I understand that this was meant to be what we would call a black label comic today, kids. But in the past, this would be a Vertigo book. But this would be more. But back then, it wasn't even a Vertigo. I don't even think it was under the Vertigo line. I think it was just under the DC comic line, and was just given explicit content warning. I could be wrong, but yeah, I think it was either an explicit DC book, or because I don't think Vertigo had come out about that time. So yeah, but like I said, there's a lot of racial slurs and Nazi symbolism. Not saying Frank Miller's a Nazi. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying there's a lot of the stuff you would see in his other books, a lot of aggressive racism, Nazis getting punched, which is always a good thing to see Nazis getting killed. It's always a good day when you get to see Nazis get killed. But yeah, other than that, there's also a lot of you can almost feel the disdain he has for women, or there's this disdain for female characters as well as therapists, and especially homeless people. Oh my god, there's a part of this where it's really god damn, Frank, dial it to 2, please. Dial it back 2 pieces. You're at an 11, could you be at an 8.5 tops? There's also a lot of hate towards there's just a lot of low-key things in here that were brought up more, that could be seen brought up more in Miller's other work. Holy Terror. Yeah. But having said that, this is an interesting read. Like, the story does kind of flow until the end, where it just feels like Frank throws everything at the wall, which, again, is typical Frank Miller, like, early Frank Miller fashion of throwing everything at the wall and seeing what sticks, because how the story end made my brain go, wait, no, that doesn't make any sense at all. Like, how they... And I don't want to spoil it, even though this comic has been out for a while. The ending of this comic literally made me go, no, wait, that doesn't... No. I mean, I understand that Frank Miller was going for, like, a big twist, and I have a feeling this comic had a bit of Akira inspiration. Like, I feel like Frank Miller wanted to do something with it. Like, he saw Akira and was like, I could do that, because it ends on a very Akira-esque note. Maybe this comic came out before Akira, but I have this feeling that, like, Akira had a place in this. I will say that, like, the artwork is really good. The artwork was done by the drawings were done by Frank Miller, but the coloring was done by Lynn Varley, who it's very manga-esque. I will say that does have a very manga-type style. I also appreciate just like how colors pop. Lynn Varley was really... They paired Frank with a really good colorist for this comic. Yeah, sorry about the fucking chair. But yeah, they really paired Frank with a really good colorist for this. And the artwork's really good. Like, there is very much, like, artwork speaks for itself several times over in this comic. Yeah. In fact, there's even, like, a pullout. Like a whole pullout page, as you can see right here. And it's gorgeous, too. Like, it is fucking gorgeous. But yeah. Also, the ending made no sense to me. Like, everything building up to that ending made me go, wait, I have no understanding what is going on here. And maybe I'm just too dumb for it. I fully acknowledge that I can be, that, you know, I'm dumb. But also, open-ending endings bother me. But still, what did I think of this comic as a whole? It depends on how much you as a person like Frank Miller's work. Me personally, I do love his Daredevil run. I think Sin City's really good. But yeah, it depends on really where you stand on how much you like Frank Miller. This isn't crazy Uncle Frank, but it's not like, you know, Frank Miller... It's not crazy Frank Miller, but it is like got a taste of crazy Frank just hiding in the back of his mind. So, yeah. This comic, I think it's good. I think it's good, but at the same time, I'm like, I can understand why, because at the time, Frank Miller was everywhere at this point in time. Like, again, Dark Knight Returns, Daredevil, Sin City, dude was everywhere. So I can understand why this got lost in the shuffle. Because when everyone talks about, like, Frank Miller work, this one never really comes up a lot. At least in all the stuff I've seen, and all the, like, posts and whatnot. But anyway, you guys tell me in the comments below, what did you guys think of Frank Miller's Ronin? Did you guys like it, hate it? Comment below, let me know. And Chris, thank you once again for this comic. Other than that, hope you all enjoyed this. I'm Mr. Multiverse. I'll see you next time in the Multiverse.